space, and mind. The basic dimensions of reality. Sound, movement, and thought. The basic responses of I and I. Metamorphosis.
Keep listening.
In life I shall be the same, in death I shall be a terror, terror, terror.
Iman Blak, me no brown, me no white. Nazi Babylon stripe, you mad?
Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Emerging from a cocoon into a caterpillar. From a caterpillar to a butterfly. The metamorphosis is here. It's live. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
When a parted black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Good evening, Iman Blak.
Good evening.
This is Pauline from St. Mary. Calling to big you up on your program. I am a disciple. I've been there since almost the inception.
Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free.
I just you may have to tune into because, me always even watch some other television and stuff, and that's a festival for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
How ma one one ma chikum bakhna Africa da fa bakhna kida fanya kida farafet one ma chiki bunjul kida fa bunjul one ya deke sawai kida fa bunjul one ma chiki bunjul kida fa bunjul dafnen rafet yom entamenda ingama get dafnen rafet yom entamenda ingara dafnen rafet yom entamenda ingara did you know that's a richer Africa did you know that's a richer Africa, did you know? Said the whole world love it, did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud. trying to hold I down with his guns and ammunition. Yeah, intimidation, victimization. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah. Telling us to come home, yeah. Telling us to come home. Fire operates, burn down Babylon and all them crooked ways and racial discrimination, discommunication, brutalization. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah.
Shall not enter. These are all along. We walk on a true monster, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon.
Metamorphosis, Dr. Iman Blak, Baz FM. African History Month continues in pursuit of our blackness.
Chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise to the whole of man of creation.
the violence upon which Western democracies have been built, the violence of one race upon another, has built the Western empire. And that violence will not dissipate. Like energy, it will simply transform and reappear. And we're seeing in 2018 a reappearance of a certain intensity of but the terrorism was directed strictly against the black people. And that terrorism would not really just disappear. It would submerge itself into other aspects and areas of the society. And so there's an outburst now. There is a question at the global level as people look on from the outside into America, asking, can America be disarmed? There is a growing youth movement in America now to challenge political adults, the adult politicians. And so the whole effort of the generations who are most recent and would like to have some chance to enjoy their lives, they are no concerned. Can America be disarmed? And because Jamaica is living in the shadow, the question applies to Jamaica. Can Jamaica disarm? Can we disarm Jamaica? America is now faced with that problem. Tied up deep with the Constitution and the amendment and the gun rights and the corporations and the whole money-making machinery. Serious issue. And of course, some of you may know or some of you may not know, but on our island today, the police at European, this is all alleged, but it's apparently real, that their student at a high school in Kingston sent out a voicemail with serious threats about mass activities in the school in the same way the Americans have been doing it from the days of Columbine. We're wondering if they're trying to bring that vibration here. Is it that serious? Is it really a condition of mental health globally? Is the world suffering from a sort of mental health condition? Or is it just terrorism as an ideology that has come fully home? So the Metamorphosis will be exploring the AR-15, the weapon that has turned America upside down, inside out. When the focus was always on the outside of America, threatening other countries to become democratic, now the issue is really at home. When your institutions are being attacked and when violence is no longer prohibited from showing itself in certain institutions like your churches and your schools, you know that the society is facing a certain level of decay. So I will explore that consistently throughout this metamorphosis. I also want to continue to examine and explore African history. What does it mean and how does it become relevant? How does it become relevant in 2018 to having a grasp of the history of Africa? How does it make you a better person? How does that put money in your pocket? God, the basic level people asking the question, why not for me? Why not for me? So what is it in it for you to know African history? We continue to look at that because there's much to gather. And also just make a glancing remark on the recent movie that is out that has everybody dressing up like Africans. What is that really all about? Does it require Hollywood to validate African people? Is it the same Hollywood that strips us of our identity that is now giving us piece of identity again? We have checked that consistently. So we're here and we're going to look at things and things. We want to look at the whole notion of an allegory. Because in trying to understand our history, we have to be a bit separate now the allegories from the fables, from the mythologies. So there are allegories, there are fables, and there are myths. And then there's history. We're going to try to get some clarity between those various ways of looking at time and space. And then, of course, because mythologies are so important, we hardly ever know about any African mythologies. Our soul mythologies basically coming out of Greece and Rome. We need to open up our understanding of the power of mythologies in certain cultures and begin to embrace some of the mythologies that come out of Africa. So, you know, and of course, I am interested in symbols, the importance of symbols and signs as part of our communication system. And I want to look at the symbol that we have been given, but we have been given the meaning of the symbol in a very negative way. I'm speaking about the serpent. What comes to mind when you think of a serpent? What comes to the imagination? Where do you draw your references from to define what is the meaning of a serpent? What happens when you go to bed and you dream of a serpent? How do you interpret that? And how do you draw your references to help you define and help you interpret these dreams? So we want to look at the serpent because the serpent is a powerful symbol and a powerful agent on this planet. Christian Bible tells you to be as wise as the serpent. So you have to juxtapose it against the notion of the serpent representing evil. Where did that come from? And it's about time we drop that and bring ourselves closer to who we really are. So Metamorphosis is here, and you can tell ones and ones to tune in, and music shall run. Yeah, we're hearing the voice of Eddie Fitzroy. And the gun is really part of the early discourse in this metamorphosis. The gun, you know. We here on the island, we are feeling the effects of the gun. And it's not today. The thing about the gun, you know, as an instrument of destruction, is that guns are not manufactured in the Caribbean, period. Neither are bullets. So these are weapons that are brought into these regions originally by the colonizers. They brought their guns and they brought their liquor and they brought their Bible. And the gun has been a serious weapon from that time to this time. And we see that the gun has a history and it is within a certain culture. And as far as we know in the Western world, it's a white man culture, the gun thing. Guns and bombs, ammunition, implements of war and destruction. So when we examine now how this how we get to this point where in the great United States of America, schools are now shooting galleries. Churches are now shooting galleries. What happened and how did this reach where it reached? Because the solution will not come simply by making laws. Because there's a belief and there's a culture behind the gun and those who make guns. We know that that continent called North America is the home to the native people that we call Indians. And we know that some Europeans invaded out of Europe, calling themselves founding fathers and Puritan and all this type of terms. And they came to the North American continent with an attitude to conquer and to dominate. So the first type of violence that was collectively meted out is what we today call genocide. Because in a nutshell, genocide is what reached the Indians. So this is a level of violence that is unheard of or unimaginable, but it would happen again. So the violence that North America is experiencing even today has been a part of its foundation from its inception. The violence that would decimate the Indians would transform itself into a type of violence that would be inhumane to the African people who were now brought into these conditions of chattel slavery and exposed to the most barbarity and brutality that the earth has ever seen. So violence, again, within the heart of the white man culture, to dominate and to control the environment. So African people would feel the wrath. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, all levels of abuse will be meted out to I and I as a people. And this will be all contributed towards the building of this American nation. It's built upon violence and intimidation and brutality. Now, that philosophy of violence would permeate American landscape. It would also permeate the Caribbean states, where the colonies were established and violence again was a method of controlling and maintaining power over the enslaved people. So we see genocide on the North American continent. And to a certain extent, the native Tainos faced genocide from the Spanish. Africans had to take with themselves and maroon themselves to survive. But in North America now, the violence will be modified and codified. And as they try to arrive at some level of equilibrium amongst the races, emancipation would be a process. But the violence will continue within the behavior that we will call lynching. Yeah, lynching now. And black people were lynched left, right, and center. Almost as a party. Where the children were brought to lynching, like white girls and boys were brought out on a Sunday evening to observe a lynching. Violence. But it wasn't directed against white people at the time. It was all directed outward. But violence tends to breed violence. And if you practice it, you're going to feel it. So we have a tradition developed in North America and the Caribbean of violence to control the population. So from genocide to lynchings, And as American society tried to become more normalized, the violence would find its way manifesting itself, coming out through the laws and the police force. So Jim Crow laws and the Ku Klux Klan, these agencies would represent violence in America. Police violence. Now, the gun has been a part of Wild West America from its days of warring with the Indians. The gun, the rifle. And it became an important part of the white man's culture to have a gun. And that gun would be used as weapon of what he would call protection. But he would also use it as a weapon for sport, because black people were shot down the way you hunt animals. So we're trying to penetrate and analyze what's happening in 2018 in North America. It's not enough to start now. We have to see where the thing getting its power from. So the Constitution is an important factor now in maintaining guns in possession in America. Because if I'm not wrong, it is the Second Amendment that guarantees the right to bear arms. Now, these rights are not really guaranteed to the black people, you know. These rights were guaranteed to the people who could vote, the people who had power, which is the white people. So when we look at guns and violence, that is now on the face of the earth, and feeling grief and sorrow for what's happening in America today, let us be more objective and analyze from a distance.
This is Styles FM.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place, where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close. We never close.
Start your foundation with the #1 block factory and hardware supplier in Portland. DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies Limited. They have large stocks of high-quality construction and hardware supplies. From electrical, plumbing, painting supplies, and building materials, DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies has you covered. Visit any of the locations in St. Margaret's Bay, Port Antonio, or Buff Bay. Call 993-4415 or 913-3530 or email DIB_block@yahoo.com. DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies Limited. Your foundation starts with them.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM, for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill. They offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
You with But me born in the ghetto, oh in the ghetto, me living in the ghetto, and every day I just
Yeah. So we deal with the gun thing now when it reached Jamaica, because the guns were turned loose upon poor people and lower class economic status, and these are the people where the guns are given to. I remember I said earlier, we don't manufacture guns in these regions. Guns are imported by those who have access to resources and brought through the borders of Jamaica, brought through the customs, brought through the illegal points of entry, and dumped into our communities of poor people, of unemployed people, given now these weapons to fight war. And the purpose of the war in Jamaica was political war. And in that war, sides are taken and the African population is split. So the gun is a very serious weapon. And we're going to just go and trace the movement of this violence through North America a little bit, because when we get an opportunity to look at American culture projected through Hollywood, because Hollywood is a key agency that projects and promotes American culture. And it's Hollywood that is famous for projecting that Wild Wild West image of America. Wild West, Dodge City, and Wyatt Earp, and Two Gun Kid, and all kind of gunman. Jesse James and the brothers that, and it's a glorification of violence promoted by Hollywood. Yeah man, whole heap of cowboy show, and them flood those shows into the Caribbean, and them flood them shows in Jamaica. And a lot of Jamaican youth begin to internalize these movies and start going like, say, them now a bad man. And them a gunman too. So Al Capone, as a mobster, became a hero and projected through the movies. And there's an important part in the gangster culture that is related to Valentine's Day. Because in Valentine's Day in 19-something, the mob turned loose some guns and killed off a whole man, that it became the Valentine Day Massacre, a part of American history. Well, the massacre just repeated itself last week in Florida on Valentine's Day. And this time it were mobsters fighting over liquor and turf in Chicago. This is the time of a 19-year-old youth who decides, say, he's going to deal with a case. And it's 17 and 18 people get shot up. And everybody know in another state of uproar. But this has been happening from the days of Columbine. And 50 man go down in Las Vegas under the gun. And so they've identified the gun now as the AR. The AR-15. This is a gun of choice now for these mass shootings in America. And this is a gun that you can buy over the counter in America. So America is tied deeply into gun violence. And it becomes part of the culture that them export. Them export the gun violence. And the societies that are mimics will quickly begin to imitate the violence that is projected through American media and what happens in the street. So this Valentine's shoot up in America. Today we had a youth now who's trying to copycat that and put out a voicemail threatening institutions and friends and so forth. So we have to watch what's going on now, you know. We have to watch what's happening now in this world with the, as I say, violence turn up. What is very interesting now at this stage is that there's resistance now being built up in America against the gun culture. But the resistance now is not coming from the top. It's coming from the youths. The youths who are feeling the bullets. Yeah, it's who feel it, know it. And the youths now are feeling the guns. These youths who leave them home to go and get an education, and now the parents have to be wondering why is it they are now being trained to duck bullets, why teachers must be blocking gunshots, the thing gone haywire. And all of this is just a part of the decline and the demise of the American empire. Internal dissolution. And what is critical to understand now is that the guns, the owners, those who build these guns and sell them in America under the organization of the NRA, National Rifle Association, these are millionaire clubs owners, and these are the people who finance Donald Trump's campaign to some very heavy millions of dollars. So the gun lobby is tied into the politicians. And the politicians are not dying because the guns and the massacres are taking place where they are, taking place in schools. So it's all feeling it now a lick out. So these youths are now planning to march on Washington. They're planning to lock down certain things that will happen in America, like the midterm elections. And the youths are saying no or never. So it's a critical stage that the world is in terms of observing America. Then we hear about mental health as the cause. And it's always mental health when the white man take up the gun and kill off people. Every other person is a terrorist. Every other group of people are terrorists. But when the white man commits those atrocious acts, it's because he has a mental health problem. And I'm saying, no, that is just another semantics. Because if he has a mental health problem, what about the victims? What about African people who have been suffering from lynchings and the laws of white oppression and racism? Who should have a mental problem? The victims are those who are put under pressure. So the concept of mental health now, I cannot apply it now to these shooters in America. Because they know exactly what they're doing. They have no mental health problems. They have problems with them racial consciousness. And they are at a state of hatred. And they hate not just races, but they hate the American government too. So it's a war, you know. A war is on. The war is on. And this Valentine's Day Massacre in Florida. And the number of school shootings in America just since the year start, it make Jamaica look like we're in a paradise when it comes to gun violence. But it's not true because our island is small. And so the reverberation of a gunshot and a death touches everybody here on the island. The same thing seems to be happening now in America, as big as it is. Because it's not a matter of the shootings now are limited to one state. It's like any state and every state. So the whole place is under the gun. The gun makers are the money makers. Because America is driven by war. America is driven by violence. America makes the most guns and sell the most ammunition around the world. They have sold enough ammunition to Israel that Israel feels strong enough now to try to start a war with Iran. Trump has sold millions of dollars in ammunition to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia now flexing their muscles and they want to control the region. So, I say to them now, this terrorism that is now being experienced in America is not based upon mental health. It's terrorism. It's terrorism that has been bred in America. This latest assailant is 19 years old. This youth just born way there. And he has reached a level of anger and intensity that him can go into the school and be well rehearsed. And what makes it more alarming is that the very next day, a parent in Philadelphia or somewhere like that, had to call the police because their child were planning to do the same thing the next day and improve on the Florida shooting. So we have to watch what's going on now, because the youth them reach a point where they see no reason to go forward with this life. Because these old men at the top who control this thing are unwilling to do the things to make them have a good life. We can look at Jamaica now and try to understand why the guns are coming in and who controls the flow. And who is the guns killing? It's killing off the same poor people. It's killing off the people of the lower class. The people who are wealthy and protected to a certain extent are untouched. So is it a matter of where the guns are pointed before we get an attention? The world is in a serious stage. We have to stop and think carefully. So America has moved from genocide to lynchings and mob violence, bombings. Bombings has become a part of the American behavior. Where a man bomb up building and them have the cars fighting against this and fighting against that. The Americans, according to the reports, bomb up them own building at the World Trade Center. Many debates about how those buildings came down. Did the Americans bring them down themselves to create this external enemy that they could attack? Because war is a vibration. War is a vibration of North America. It's war, a war vibration is a war economy. And war brings death and destruction. But in America, death and destruction is money. Hospital industry run. The military industrial complex run. So we're saying now to the black people now, are we going to be part of this big game by keep pointing guns at each other? Are we going to put down the gun? Will we put down the gun? Can we put down the gun? Here, Eddie Fitzgerald. Yeah, Eddie Fitzroy. Now remind us about this thing called the gun. Serious invention. AR-15 is a gun that is causing the problem in America, out in the streets and in institutions, AR-15. But I read a post recently that all the black people decide to go and buy an AR tomorrow, the following day them start ban it. Yeah, the black people get up and decide to own these guns for themselves, which they are constitutionally allowed to do, because the whole thing in America now is rotating around the Second Amendment in the Constitution, the right to bear arms. And this is a right now that in some states you can even expose the arms. Some states it has to be concealed, some states are allowed to expose it. So it's a gun culture. You remember now the Wild West, when issues cannot be resolved verbally, man will shoot man. Yeah, just like that. So the appetite for pulling the trigger is within the culture of the Europeans, within the culture of the white man in America. And it has bred a certain level of mentality. And the gun violence wasn't turned inward at a certain point in time. But since America began to get involved in this Bush drive called War on Terror, it has changed the entire globe. So, is it that everybody should have a gun? Could that work in a place like Jamaica? Would that deter gun violence if all adults could legally own a gun? Or you think, say, because you have a gun, a man will come try to take your gun, but a man know you have it at your home. You see, we have to find a way to neutralize the situation. Because obviously the citizenry is unarmed and the criminals are heavily armed. Should the citizens have a chance to arm themselves? The American Constitution tells them yes. They have the right to bear arms. No. It's a very tricky situation. Because do you disarm the population and make them victims to anybody who have a gun? Or do you make it the playing field level? So the terrorism idea that was promoted by Bush, that terrorists were people who came from Muslim countries in particular, and that they would kill themselves for a cause, and the Western world would call them suicide bombers, because suicide is not a positive construct. Suicide means you take your own life. But if you die for a cause, you're a soldier. Because when soldiers go to war, oftentimes they don't expect to come back, but they are fighting for a cause. So when other people fight for a cause and die, they call them suicidal. They don't call them martyrs. But when the Western white man dies for the cause, automatically he becomes a hero. So we have to watch the propaganda now and the language used by the media. So terrorists were always a certain type of people from a certain type of place. And the Americans are unable now to face the fact that terrorists now are their own kind. Homebred, born and bred in America. Right there in America. And they're not Muslims, they're not Hispanic, and they're not black. They're not Africans. We see Dylan Roof go into a church and kill off black people. We see the police force shoot down black people innocently. That has been a way of life for white men in America. But the information age exposing things. Pictures are being taken and cameras are rolled and things are coming out. So what is happening now in America? As I said, it's not just America now, because today in Jamaica, they have to hold on to a youth. Because him send out a sound through voicemail, what him going to do relative to what happened in America in the school system. So they have a thing called copycat. We can't afford that in a place like Jamaica. So we have to call upon those who are in the powers now to deal with the guns that are coming into the country, since we don't make them here. Since the poorest of the youth who have guns can't afford a bullet, or them get it. So I don't think we really want to wait until the trauma reach us like we're reaching America now, We're in our schools and our churches are no longer places of safety. We know that culturally, we don't want to lose that. But it's coming closer. And the onus is upon those who govern. Those who call themselves governance must work out the policies and set the framework that will protect the society from these guns. A very serious moment we're in. And we don't want to be responsible for our own annihilation. We need some support from the very top. And come to grips with the fact that terrorism now is settled in America. It's not mental health issues when these white men take up the guns. They are now become terrorists. And the competition is on now who can take out more people at one go. That seems to be the whole thing. And remember now, assassinations have been a part of American political culture. Again, by the gun. John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert F. Kennedy, Medgar Evers, Martin King, Malcolm X. All of them man go down by the gun. So we have to wake up and begin to have a different reasoning about this violence that surrounds us. This imported weapon of mass destruction. Why we can't stop it when we don't make it? Why is it that the forces that are outside who know where it's coming from, not making an effort to prevent them from coming here? Yeah, we need a campaign. And it's not just about bringing in the guns, because the guns are coming into the country faster than all the guns are being turned over to the law enforcement. So instead of bringing in the guns, we're beginning to catch them at the ports. A different sort of governance is needed, and resources must be put into security. Because ultimately, our governance first responsibility to the people is to security. Metamorphosis.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close. We never close.
I wanna make reservation for two, and this is just between me and you. I wanna make reservation for two, and this is just between me and you. My woman, she's coming in town tonight, and every little thing is gonna be so right. It's a long, 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 long time said I haven't seen you, girl, so I've gotta get myself together and make reservation. I wanna make reservation for two. I wanna make reservation for two. I wanna make reservation for two, and this is just between me and you. Whoa, 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 baby, my sweet little baby. Long time we haven't walked together. Long time we haven't talked together. Long time we haven't held each other. Long time we don't make sweet love.
this poem festival and some competitions that are in place. So, Takura?
Sorry.
All right, the man up on the thing live.
Yes, sir. Blessed.
Seeing?
Yes, sir. Good thanks.
Yeah, man. So, say your piece now. You can say your piece.
Yeah, man. I want to say give thanks, brethren. I'm listening to the Iron, the whole conversation with the Iron of one thing and the whole reasoning. And it's such a thing what is happening in the world at this time, you know, and it's a time when everyone is looking to America same way consistently, because people have always been looking to America as the God on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And people still doing that even though America has demonstrated to be such a devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's such a sad situation, but I never still out of the sound them and burn the fire still, no so?
Serious thing.
Definitely.
So what are going for Portland and the poetry?
What I want to Portland and the poetry, you know, sir, it's April 29, you know. Sunday, April 29 at the Neville Antonio Park. You know, we're doing the 8th annual, you know. And there is something that we're doing this year that we never normally do, which is to extend an invitation to the youth to become a part of this poem and enter this poem all schools poetry competition.
All right, so stop again now. Just run that again now. Just run that line again.
Yeah, we're having, this year we're staging a thing called This Poem All Schools Poetry Competition.
Okay.
Whereby we're inviting the youth in Portland, the youth in Jamaica, the youth all over to enter the poetry competition by, you know, make a video or an audio of yourself reciting a poem, whether it's original or it's someone else's poem. You know, make the poem and send it via WhatsApp to 573-1851. You know, or send it via email to rastakura@yahoo.com. You know, and what we're going to do, we're going to get all these poems. We have a qualified committee, and then we're going to select. We're going to select the top 3 poets.
Top 3
poets.
Yeah.
And the top 3 poets now come to the festival and do a square off.
3 day hard way. Yes.
You know, so that is what we have in plan, and I want to tell you, I'm in communication with the management of Styles FM, and Styles FM is also on board and supporting the whole vibe, and we soon have an ad running on Styles FM, informing the youth of Portland to become a part of the poetry competition, you know. So I want to say big respect to Mr. Jackson, the Jacksons,
yes,
you know,
the family, yes.
This poem, you know, all schools poetry competition, you know.
So when you say all schools now, it mean high schools or primary schools or what? Who? All schools.
What one say, it doesn't just limit to schools, you know. But we kind of want to kind of maintain a particular age group.
Okay.
Limit the age group at the same time.
Seeing.
But we're trying to get the youth to represent their school.
All right.
You know? So all schools mean any form of institution.
Yes.
Any college, any primary school, you know, any high school, you know, just represent the school with the spoken word, you know, create a poem or give a poem of someone else that you know, and, you know, enter the poetry competition. Just make a video, as we say, make a video or an audio, and just send an email or a WhatsApp message.
So give us the phone number again and the email address.
Yeah, the phone number is 573-1851, and the number the number is 573-1851, and the email is rastakura@yahoo.com. Rastakura is RASTAKURA@yahoo.com. You know?
Yes.
So once you have a poem, you know, enter the competition. There's prizes for the winner. The prizes we will have the this poem trophy. It will go to the winner, and also we'll bring the winner in a studio and professionally record the poem.
Wow.
And let the poem be played on public radio in Jamaica.
And well, we can play, so we can play Panama Metamorphosis too. You know that? We can play that. We can play the poem for Metamorphosis too. You know.
Definitely. All right. That sounds very good.
See
Yeah,
there?
but give thanks, Metamorphosis. Give thanks, Dr. Iman Blak. Yeah. This is the type of energy where I and I have to galvanize around poetry, because what is happening with in Jamaica now, is a serious thing that's happening in Jamaica right now in terms of what is happening with I and I culture. See, when you see things like the reggae revival rise up in Jamaica, are the youth who classify themselves as the reggae revival, right?
Yeah.
And project it out in the world, and that whole energy is like there's a specific vibe that is focused on Jamaica right now. And the poetry and the poet is a part of that whole vibration.
True.
See? And now is the best time for I and I. So we are saying to all the poets them that we need to unite, we need to come together around ideas and support each other and see how we can establish this thing and control it. See?
Yeah. Are there any specific themes that the poet could work around, or is wide open?
Not necessarily. I don't want to limit it to any specific theme. But one thing you know is that this poem Words and Agro Festival is the Seeds Exchange Show.
All right.
See, it is the Heirloom Seeds Exchange Show. So if a youth can build a poem and it is talking about heirloom seeds and non-GMO and stuff like that, you know that it's Sakura and the near head.
Yes.
So, we're not going to limit it to any form of topics,
Yes.
Make it open to anything what a man wants to write about, because we want as many people to enter as possible, so we still don't want to limit it to any particular school of thought. We want to open it out to people who is writing and have this creative energy and this creative vibe.
Yes.
And you want to share in the spoken word, you want to enter the competition, you want to win the prize, or you want to just establish yourself or come on a stage like this poem and perform your poetry. This Poem Words and Agro Festival is one of the only annual poetry festival in Jamaica that have
give me a short synopsis of the history.
A short synopsis of the history of this Poem Words and Agro Festival is that this poem was started out in 2011. In 2011, at the campus of the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, we did the first stage in the TP Lekki Art. See?
Yes.
And at that time, it wasn't this poem. The first staging was Muta Baruka live in concert. That was the first staging of this poem.
Yes.
And we have other poets who was on the lineup. Stepper was there, and the Forward Step Foundation. I can't remember everyone.
Yeah, man, but it come from 2011. It's coming from 2011.
It's coming from 2011, and it started at the TP Lekki Hall at the College of Agriculture.
And right now, it's going to be deposited at Neville Antonio.
It's going to be at the Neville Antonio Park, and it's going to be the third time in the Neville Antonio Park.
So it sounds as if this is something where Portland's supposed to own.
No, it's Portland own it. This Poem Words and Agro Festival is Portland show.
Watch a thing. I want if the Portland people know say them own it. Or them we go on till they make somebody take it away.
No man, them not, I feel the love and the energy from Portland, and I know that Portland love the show, so they're not going to make no one take on the show.
Yes.
I read with the people, and the people them say Takura, a year park. See?
Yes.
And the show of the people and the people of the show.
So what about entrance now? How is there a fee to enter or what? Are you just
going to be a fee to enter, but you know what we always do, keep the fee minimal that everyone can
enter.
That's
Yes.
the thing that we always try to do, was to keep it minimal.
Yes.
And we're going to try and do that this year, to keep it minimal. And in that way of keeping it minimal, we want to reach out to the people who are maybe potential sponsors.
I see
want
there.
to be a part of the whole vibration.
See there.
So
Yes.
they can also reach out to I and I. If people people who are into natural products, creating and making natural products, and and interested in doing vending and marketing your product or staging a product. Because I think about this Poem Worlds and Agro Festival is also a product expo and a product staging. So it's not just that the staging artist and the stage, but we're also staging products.
Okay.
Staging products that people create in the kitchen, create in the backyard, create anywhere.
So
this is a stage for you to come and people can see your product.
So there's a commercial side to the festival.
Definitely a commercial tie to the festival, and it is targeting the grassroots people. It's not the big multinational companies.
Yes.
Even though if they are listening, would I really love their support.
Participate, of course, yes.
And stuff like that.
Yes.
But we're trying to create business among ourselves.
True.
And we're doing that for Portland, and we're doing it with the marketing of natural agricultural products and natural handmade products, and also in the form of the seeds exchange, which is a thing that I want to put a lot of emphasis on this year. You know, where I want to invite the people again to bring their natural, vital, organic seeds, their third generation seeds, right, and participate in the seeds exchange. Because what we learn is that when a seed is being genetically modified, it loses ability to reproduce, right? So we are trying to target the farmers who are seed savers, right? And save them seeds after each crop, right? And have these seeds and want to increase their varieties and their species, right? Because the reality about the whole seed thing, in the Dr. Black, is that when a man grow any particular crop, for instance, a man growing pumpkin, right? When he reap pumpkin, the amount of pumpkin seeds that he get from a crop of pumpkin, never in his life he really want to plant back so much pumpkin seeds.
All right.
But what normally happens is that a lot of these seeds go to waste, right? Because you don't have a big seed saving culture in Jamaica people.
Or even storage.
And storage, right? Storage. So what happens now is that majority of those seeds go to waste.
Yes.
So if one person in Portland is growing pumpkin and the next person in Westmoreland is growing ganja, yeah, we can't say ganja now because it's legal. So a man is growing ganja in Westmoreland, and next man I grow pumpkin in Portland, and the next man I grow some sorrel in St. Anne or planting a banana. And each person that is growing a particular crop always have excess amount of
seeds, yes.
Whenever time the crop is over.
Yes.
So we are saying no, if we can use this forum to bring all those excess seeds and then we share among ourselves, then each person that brings a particular variety, a particular species of seed, he might just leave the festival with 10 or 20 different species.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So and also a next thing about Jamaica culture is that there's certain food, there's certain food and certain plants that grow in certain parts of the island that doesn't grow in certain other parts of the island.
Right.
Like for instance, the first time I knew Marmy, the fruit when named Marmy, is when I come to Portland. I grew up in a St. Anne, which is a deep rural area, and I never experienced Marmy. I never see it until I come to Portland. See? And Marmy is a popular thing in Portland and Westmoreland and some other places.
Yes.
But where I'm from in St. Anne, it is not a
not there. Yes. So it's sound like I want to say about a government that deal with seed,
No, it is a government. I is a government. It's just that we don't really formalize it like them, but it's a government.
Yes.
Because the people who have been coming to the festival, they have been cultured into the whole seeds exchange vibration. And the people have been cultured. And the fact that the people is being cultured, it means that the community is going to be cultured.
I'm going to benefit,
right?
Yes.
And then a couple of years from now, the whole seeds exchange vibration going to become like a wildfire spreading across the world. Then the sale of seeds now will become obsolete.
Okay. Serious thing. So tell me something. The man do any You do any, you making a contact with the library as a point of information distribution?
You know, we always communicate with the library.
Yeah.
But I think we need to work closer with the library and all these institutions that is mobilizing the spoken word in Jamaica.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
we need a closer link, and in saying this, we want to use this medium to reach out to the authorities who are in the libraries and in the schools to try to be a part of this poem words and agro festival.
yes.
By reaching out to I&I, you know, we already give out the email rastakura@yahoo.com, and the number is 573-1851. So we open our arms to welcome whoever wants to be on board and support the seeds exchange, support the spoken word, especially the fact that we're trying to bring the youth them into something like a competition and get them involved.
Yes.
Because I have a responsibility for the youth them, you know.
Definitely.
And we have to target the youth them and bring them into positiveness, right?
Yes.
Because we have been affected by the negative things them that the youth them pursue a lot of times.
Yes.
But at the same time, we need to initiate certain
Something else that will give them a, yes.
that they can become a part of.
Part of, yes.
See? So, I know say, we might take a lot of time out of your show still, but I have a look a poem where I want the people to hear before we come off of the ear. You know?
All right, run it now.
Me plant heirloom seeds in the earth, and the ganja plant start to grow. Ganja maker, ganja planter, Rastakura, ganja maker. Me plant heirloom seeds in the earth, and the ganja plant start to grow. So me say, seeds exchange from gate to gate, parish to parish and state to state. Join the pollination for safe foods direction in that time of plastic foods invasion. Save seeds and keep the strain alive. Jamaica is known for a variety of natives. I am Jamaica Indigenous Heirloom Seeds Exchange Movement. I am the heritage of the heirloom strain. To preserve me, man will live again. Because a seed that has been genetically modified actually loses its ability to reproduce. So each time the farmer wants a new stack of seeds, he must return to that source to purchase new seeds. When traditionally a plant is supposed to produce food and seeds, and you eat the food and save the seeds for replanting at the next crop. But what is happening now when you purchase seeds at the seed stores is that majority of the seeds are GMO, are contaminated with some form of genetic modification. Then through cross-pollination, which is the natural means by which plants carry out sexual reproduction, you have the natural ital organic species of the earth becomes contaminated and bastardized. So, make we plant heirloom seeds in the earth and make the ganja continue grow. Make we plant heirloom seeds in the earth, light up the fire and burn GMO. Seeds exchange is ancient African tradition. Seeds exchange is from day one, as agriculture is man's first occupation. Just as him start for things say, him want food for yam, but now to exchange seeds in certain countries is an illegal weapon. So Jamaica, make we practice this. Seeds exchange in every district. Stop give the children them cheese tricks. Avoid the use of modified cannabis. Eat more greens. Sip no dead. Ital vegetation. The Rastaman meds. Make it habitual. Every time you eat a fruit, you save a seed.
You know say, me don't like the eye focus on the primary school them.
Seeing, all right.
Yeah, me I like the primary school them get excited about this competition. High schoolers them sometimes cannot get too sophisticated, you know.
Right.
You see the primary school youth them who close to the soil already.
Right.
Yeah, well, me like you have a special section just for primary schools.
All right, King. We support that with I just a while ago.
Yeah.
We are going to put the focus there, so.
Yes.
And we hope, you know, the I can use the forum to kind of help to get the message.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm going to link again as we get closer, you know.
Definitely.
And we just go and emphasize the importance of this Portland unique activity. Because it's this place in Portland, them say tourism start, you know, and then the man them thief it. And them start something else and them thief it. Who want to set up this thing else, but them can't thief it.
All right, brother.
Rastafari.
We are going to nail it in Portland, right now the park, so.
Yes.
No one can thief.
Can't take it away.
We just be the vanguard.
See there. Rastafari. Give thanks, Satkura.
Give thanks, man.
We
want to big up to all of the people who are listening to the I show, you know, King. Come here, tell the I, you know, everywhere I go in the world, you know, people are listening to Dr. Iman Blak and the Metamorphosis. And we now go come on the radio and don't big up Los Angeles, California, Lemon Park, to be exact. Seeing
all right.
All of the ones who are listening, we have to big them up. I just say it go.
Rastafari, Rastakura.
Hopeful.
Peace.
Yes, I.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
St. Thomas calling all micro-entrepreneurs and small business owners. In St. Thomas, the Development Bank of Jamaica invites you to a free financial education workshop on Wednesday, February 21st, 2018, starting at 9 a.m. at the Aiken Church Hall, 1 East Street, Marant Bay, St. Thomas. Secure your space now, admission free, lunch free, registered by calling 499-0006 or email us at fita@dbankjm.com. You must register to secure your space. This is your free financial education workshop.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close.
Hey, this is Shauna representing for DJ Prestige with The Hotline, where new music gets the spotlight. On Styles FM 96.1,
96.5, 96.7. From 9 to 1 p.m. each and every Friday morning.
Prestige. Do it now, baby.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook. Styles FM 96.1.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
The music was being made with time and synchrony and rehearsals infinite to bring the sound to perfection. This is a time when the music was about creativity, not about fast forward and pull up. People wanted to hear the songs and hear it in its completion. We're at the era now where in the first two lines is enough, and a man say, next music. And you few drum roll and them say, next music. So it matches fast food culture. It matches speed of the environment and the way people expect things to happen. It also reflects in our generation of youth lacking patience and want instant results and forget about projections and the whole concept of planning long term. So I want to come out of this segment here, but before I even come out of this segment here, dealing with the appetite for guns in America and how Jamaicans have caught that appetite, and how Hollywood projects these cultures of violence and weapons through their movies and how we embrace them in Jamaica. In the 60s, it was cowboy days. Everybody was a cowboy. And in the 70s, it was a mafia. Everybody was a don. Everybody became Godfather and images of the Godfather. That was a 1972 movie. So the American movie house has a tremendous influence on the mind of people right around the globe. Important institution, more important and powerful than even the White House. Talking about Hollywood. And Hollywood has been well known for projecting negative images of black people from inception. Always buffoons and laughter and criminals and the worst type of elements of a society were always projected through Hollywood as being black. And in today's world, Hollywood make a switch now and decide to make a couple billions of dollars of switching the image of black people in the movies for the first time, and for the first time, black people see themselves as heroes in cartoon form. And it has caused a big stir in the country, both United States and Jamaica, where it has brought all people to wear African clothes and have this sense of, I don't know if it's pride or false pride, but I always cry out for our illustrators and our artists to begin to create cartoons where the heroes are African people. Because if I grew up as a youth knowing that Superman, who had the S of them chest, was a black man, I wouldn't feel any way lesser than maybe me and Superman have something in common because we're black. So maybe me have some of his superpowers too. So these things have a great impression on the young mind. Heroes coming through the movies and through the various books and so forth. We have religious heroes, we have movie heroes. So now we are being fed this Panther movie. I don't see it yet, and I will not look at it for the next couple of weeks, perhaps months. Oh no, I don't see the Matrix yet. Because these things are heavily laced with subliminal seduction, philosophy and psychology. And I just want to know whether there's any little white man show up as a hero in this Panther movie. I don't see it yet. But all the while, every time black people try to free themselves and be their own heroes, somewhere along before the show done, a little white man show up and it's like a him why everything did work. I hope that this is not the way the Panther work out. But I will tell you in a little while. Right now, everybody just jump on the wagon of dressing up. I remember I spoke to Sister P earlier. I was reminding her that earlier when the Malcolm X movie came out, everybody was into Malcolm X and hop into Malcolm X and the t-shirt them, and after a while they just commercialize and water down that Malcolm X losing force. So hoping that we'll lose the force that the Black Panther really carried in the 1960s by this movie thing. I will comment on it in a more fulsome way when I man take my own glance. But I'm not anxious to watch that. Because there's always a message and there's always something at the end of the show showing us that we still can't do it by ourselves. So let us see how this one work out. So ultimately now, there's a document in almost all societies and organizations that is central to holding the organization or the state or the government together. This document is called a constitution. Yes, it's called a constitution. And I must say to the item now that in a place like Jamaica, it is unknown. It is literally unheard of. So our population is dunce as it relates to the constitution. No, that's a very serious type of dunceness. Because I remember my time living in the belly of the beast. As I entered that system and get into junior high school, I started hearing about this constitution. And how you must know your rights. And how to defend your rights. And how to know your responsibilities. Jamaica didn't teach about the constitution, but they had some courses called civics. And in civics, you learn about your duties and your responsibilities, those of the government and those of you as a citizen. Well, the Constitution is a big document that everything revolves around. And I'll give you a sort of small definition of a constitution. Because in Jamaica, we're having issues that are being called constitutional crises. We don't have the gun violence crisis. Now we're ending up with a constitutional crisis. But the population don't even know what the Constitution is. So I'll give you a quick definition. A constitution is a body of fundamental principles or established precedents according to which a state or an organization is acknowledged to be governed. In other words, any organization, anything that's set up with a people and you need governance, in order to govern, you have to establish what is called a constitution. And this is written out that explains the principles that you are going to be governed by. It's a system of beliefs and laws by which a country or a state or an organization is governed. Now, it's very important that we understand this concept called constitution, because in the United States, everything revolves around the Constitution. The First Amendment speaks about freedom of speech. And this now becomes important when we want to talk about this whole political concept called democracy. Freedom of speech. The First Amendment. Now, I would think that the first thing that people should be guaranteed is freedom from unemployment, freedom from shelterlessness. In other words, what I'm going to call substantial freedoms is what the people really want. But the Constitution speaks to a lot of rhetorical things. So like freedom of speech, it has a limitation because there is a thing called reckless speech. And reckless speech now can cause danger and damage to other people. So as much as you have been given this freedom to speak, there is a limitation on the freedom. Because if you are reckless, you pay the price. And you're punished for that quote-unquote freedom. So with freedom comes responsibility. And they become inseparable. So a constitution is something that should be exposed to all of your society. Our primary school students should be reciting aspects of the Constitution. That they begin to know how the laws of this country work, and they begin to know what are their rights and what are their responsibilities. So the gun violence in America now is being, the sales of guns are being protected by this Constitution. And those who are making the billions and dollars out of gun trades and gun sales are hiding behind this Second Amendment. But the youths now are questioning, is it that gun rights are more important than the right to live? Because the right to hold a gun now is seriously threatening the right to live. And it's the youth who finding out because them are dead. Just like when war fight, it's the youth them go to war and them dead. This time now it's more crucial. Because the school system is supposed to be a place where children attend and they feel secure and they feel safe. So the issue now is that is it more important to have the right to own a gun? Or is the right to life more important? We hear about the declaration that speaks to the right to pursue free, to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, the gun rights now removing the happiness thing because it causing pure grief and anger in the big America. We here in Jamaica suffering from the grief and the anger of gun violence in a way that we can't even speak of it. It's not just mass shootings now in Jamaica, or mass shootings spread out. And we're not going into school to kill people, we are kill youths who are children. And not to be recently, because you try to pick up a shot while the man is shooting after the big man. So we're losing it. And at the gun, it's a gun, dangerous weapon, backed up by a constitution in America, backed up by the National Rifle Association agencies, these people who sell guns. So we have to come to a conclusion even within our own space in the island here. How do we find a way now to banish the gun? Because the government has tried to ask people to turn in guns, but if a gun represents power, a symbol of power, and you have a society where the youth are feeling powerless because of lack of resources in the economics and the education, they are going to move to whatever it is that gives them that sense of power. So it's not enough to ask them to hand in a gun. So when them hand it in, what do they do next? Where do they get their self-esteem? Because they're getting it from having power. They lack the money, they lack the education. And so the youth them now think that this is how they are going to get respect by being able to have power through the gun. One time Jamaica had a thing called a gun court. The way the gun thing did rile. That came and it went. We have more guns from that time till this time. So we have some serious issues we have to deal with. And it cannot be dealt from top down. It has to be from the bottom up. Why those are youth at 15 years old need a gun? Why those dons now are no longer big men? Dons are now teenagers. Something is going wrong. We have to pause and assess. Think about the African identity. Think about ourselves. Think about where we were before we got this invasion of alien forces with gun and Bible and liquor. Because in a Jamaica society now, a rum around the place, rum and gun, drugs and violence. The change will not come by divine intervention. It will come through the intervention of man, thinking man, conscious youths. So come to the Neville Antonio Park and bring a consciousness. Like to start a change through agriculture. Hail up DJ 4. Hail up to all the people in St. Thomas. Hail up my Virgin D. Locked in. Hail up to Richie. Canada. All the Canadians who are listening to the Metamorphosis, we say power, power, power to the eye. St. Thomas and St. Mary, greetings, greetings.
We all have a claim to fame. Time to tell the world now, tell the world now. We all
Heal up all the lethal ball of them. Man like Pulley, G-Spree, Judge. Enough more big up coming out of Lethal, St. Thomas. All the ball of them, yes.
know our history. Who built the pyramid? We are from the Nile Valley. Tell the truth to humanity. Left from the north to the south to the west. Victims of persecution and conquest. But we know our history. We are from the Nile Valley. Tell the truth to humanity. We all know your aim. Come on, historian. We all have a claim to fame. Time to tell the world now, tell the world now. We all know your aim. Come on, historian. We all have a claim to fame. Know our history. Who built the pyramid? We are from the Nile Valley. We know our history. Who built the pyramid?
Metamorphosis rolling on into Alkebulan, our story Kimit. And I want to just use this section, of course, to speak to things that may be relevant. Relevant in today's life as much as they were events that occurred hundreds and perhaps thousands of years ago. In other words, now we have to find how to make our story that they call history relevant today. People speak of history as something that is disconnected, like a tale. Just something that happened, a story, but there's no relevance. We have to connect ourselves to our stories, internalize our stories, and find meaning. Then we express the meaning in our livity. So we spend a lot of time talking about African history. But I keep saying to the IDM that before you can talk about documented history, man has his mythologies. The mythology now is before the history. Mythology deals with events that the man himself was not even there physically. But what are some of the mythologies that come out of Africa? It's important, I think, that we become cognizant of the fact that these things exist and we must use them. So I'm going to just make a small reading on this topic of African mythologies. Myths and legends developed over thousands of years in Africa. Now, among the influences on the development were things like mass migration. About 7,000 years ago, the Bushmen began moving from the Sahara towards southern Africa. The people of Africa did not use written language the way we know it, but they possess rich and complex oral traditions, myths, legends, and history from generation to generation in spoken form. So what has come to us basically as our history, our legends and our myths have come on to us through oral tradition. Now, mythologies include, well, African mythologies include supernatural beings who influence human life. Some of these beings are what they call powerful deities, and others are lesser, like spirits. Now, most African traditional religions have multiple gods, and these gods are often grouped together in a family. So, we have to realize now that our mythologies are varied. The people of Nigeria, the Ibu, the Dogon of Mali, the Bushmen of Southwestern Africa, the Ishuf of Nigeria, the Bantu, the Nyame, the Ashanti, the Ogun. Now, these Ogun, all these terms are deities. Ogun, Nyam, Nyam, Katunda, Ama, deities. Now, the mythologies now that we are familiar with in the Western world are mythologies that come to us primarily through Christian scripture. The Romans had their mythologies, and so did the Greeks. The Greeks drew their mythologies out of Egypt. I mean, let us not move Egypt out of Africa and put it into any place called Middle East. Egypt is Africa. So African mythologies are the foundation to nearly all the other mythologies of the Western world. But they have locked us up into the Christian mythology of creation. And that is the one that has boggled our brains for the last 2,000 years. A mythology. And the mythology that we're holding on to is not one that is constructive and liberating. Because this mythology that we get in the Christian scripture is more confusion than anything else. So in our own understanding now, we need to know the difference between a myth, a fable, an allegory, and what is history. I'll say it again. We need to know what is an allegory, what is a fable, what is a mythology, and what is our history. And unless we get clarity in those four areas, we are confused people, knowing not where we come from and knowing not where we're going. So, I open the window for I and I, as a people, begin to explore mythologies. Mythologies of the African continent, Northern African, Southern, Central, the Horn, all of these cultures speak to mythologies. And the mythology that is gripping is the one that deals with a creation story. And the creation story that I and I have been fed is dysfunctional. A practical example of the dysfunctionality of it is how we view the process of life and death. Because the mythology that we get out of the Christian scripture gives us the story that man, original man, was made from dirt. Now, it is very important that we analyze this story carefully. Because they tell us now that because man was made from dirt, from the dirt he cometh, to the dirt he shall return. And a lot of people are locked into this mental cycle, thinking, without thinking, that I and I is from dirt because of the story that speaks to the creation mythology. Now, in real life, I and I come from liquid. Creation takes place in a liquid environment. In the womb, the egg and the sperm. The fetus lives in water for months before the water break. And the fetus comes out into the atmosphere. So how does that reality transform itself to man now being made from dirt? And convincing you that you have to go back to the dirt. Because in reality, cremation is a practical way of dispensing of the body. There are men of the sea who don't want to be buried on the land. They rather bury at sea. But because we are locked into this false concept of being made from dirt, and I'm telling you about if you rub your skin, you see dirt. Yeah, because dirt is on the cells, the top cells of your skin hold the dirt. But I and I don't come from dirt. And I come from an egg and a sperm, and I come from a liquid environment, and I recognize the ocean as the cradle of life. The ocean. And it gives you a whole different meditation. And there's no fear of returning to the dirt, because I and I never come from the dirt. That story about the dirt and that man that was made from the dirt is not a myth, it's a fable. It's a fable. Because that fable now speaks of a man being made from dirt, which is not different from the mythology of the ancient Babylonians who spoke about Enkidu and Gilgamesh. So we have to look upon the thing now and try to clear up our brain cells in the present. And I don't come from the dirt. And I don't have to return to the dirt. And I come from the ocean. And I have liquid. So the life that we know, we look to the ocean as a source of life. And if you check the history of the earth, it's really the first place that life could take root in the ocean. So the womb and the fluid, amniotic fluid, is the ocean. So we are also born in an ocean. A sack that's full with fluid. The Western construct that we have been given is that the man comes out of the dirt and the woman comes out of a rib. The African tradition is that life comes from the ocean. Read some of the Egyptian mythology and read about the god and the goddess that emerge out of the ocean. So I present a different way of looking at myself. I is no creature of the dirt. I is a man that has a liquid genesis. Because from egg and sperm and I come. So if we begin to revisit some of the mythologies and revisit the fables and know the difference between a fable and a myth, and know the difference between the fable and your history. The greatest fabulist that the world has ever known was an African. His name was Aesop. A-E-S-O-P. When I was a child, I used to read and listen to Aesop fables. I never knew Aesop was an African because those fables were powerful messages with deep subliminal information and moral guidance. We didn't think that could come from black people. We thought it was white people who control that domain. So we have to sort out ourselves and know what a parable is. Know what a fable is. And one of the important signatures of a fable is that you have animals that can speak. Animals are personified. And animals begin to have human characteristics in a fable. And so Adam and Eve is a fable. Because they introduce an animal that can talk. That is the serpent. So we're gone beyond history. And we're outside of a mythology. And we're into a fable. And that fable leaves a serious imprint on the mind of black people because we take it as literal. We fail to understand that the language that we use has several devices. Language called English. There are metaphors and there are similes. And there are parables and there are allegories. And 90% or much of the stories that we read in the King James Bible are allegories. And allegories are not history. We shall speak to allegories.
Wherever the sun shines, wherever the wind blows, wherever the rain falls, wherever the plant grows, I should never know. I should never know. I should never know poverty. Should there be poverty? Say that no right. Should there be poverty? Say that no right. Should there be poverty? Say that no right. If I could be so very
What's up? Ask if I get the articles. I don't get the articles. So I guess I'm waiting. Yeah, this is a call from 1647. So out of the country, that's probably somewhere like in the north. No, Virgin, our sister. I don't have the articles. So if you want to forward them again, no? Yes, sir.
Don't want the poverty to bother me. I'm gonna climb up on the banana tree. Don't want the poverty to bother me. I don't hear the birds are crying every day now. Will we find food tomorrow? Or do we have to beg, steal, or borrow? Will the sun shine tomorrow? Or will my baby darken with sorrow? I'm gonna climb up on the banana tree. Don't want the poverty to bother me. I'm gonna climb up on the banana tree. Don't want the poverty to bother me.
Allegory. Allegory. What is an allegory? Well, according to certain definitions, an allegory is a story. An allegory can be a poem or a picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning. And the meaning is typically a moral or a political one. Allegory. And writers or speakers typically use allegories as literary devices or as a theoretical device to carry hidden are complex meanings through symbolic figures, imagery, or events. When you put them together, it creates moral, spiritual, or political meaning that the author wishes to convey, or the writer. We have to approach King James writings from the perspective of allegories. That much of the writings are allegories. So right away, we begin to read beyond the readings because these messages are not literal. They are hidden messages within an allegory. So when you read certain stories, like Adam and Eve in the garden, we have to know how to separate literal interpretation from metaphorical, figurative interpretation. Interpretation that is not real, that is, it varies according to individuals. That means, in other words, if one particular object has 50 interpretations, then there's no real truth about that. Because there are 50 various ways of assessing the thing. So 50 people can be right. So then there's no absolute truth as it relates to that particular object or subject that you're engaging in. When we want to know about the truth now, we have to move beyond allegories. And truth is what we're supposed to be searching for to liberate ourselves from falseness. Truth. But can we find truth if we hold on to allegories? Or have to learn to be objective in analyzing these allegories. Now, an important symbol within the mythology and within the fables of the Christian Bible, a very important symbol is presented to us as a serpent. Now, if you check yourself naturally, a serpent gives you a feeling of something creepy-crawly. Oftentimes, the impression is that a serpent is dangerous. Because we think about being stung or being bitten by a serpent, and we're thinking about the cobra, and we start thinking about some big poison snake, and it just get that kind of way there. But when we go into our own culture as African people and begin to exercise our own thinking and look at our own history and our mythologies, within mythologies of African culture, the serpent was nothing like what Europeans want us to interpret it to be. The serpent. Now, because of the Christian scripture, the serpent is projected as the holder and the embodiment of evil. And in the Christian way of thinking, them connect the serpent to the Satan, and they connect the serpent to the devil. So if a Christian, Negro Christian, go to bed tonight and wake up with a dream about a serpent, it's pure panic. Pure panic. Because you start hear about the bad luck, and you start hear about the evil, and you start hear about all the things them that they have given us to hold on to as an interpretation of the serpent. And you remember now, in the Christian biblical story, them tell you say after the dirt man was made and the bone woman was made, that while that was going on, that there was a serpent in the garden. And the serpent had intelligence and had language, because the serpent could have all a reasoning. So is that literal, or is that a figure of speech? So the mind and the brain who cannot go beyond literal cannot see the full meaning because they're unable to see the figurative speech. They're unable to see the metaphor, and they're unable to grasp the deeper meaning behind these words. So we want to look at the serpent. And in the Christian doctrine, the serpent represents evil. You see, in African tradition, make a look on it this way. The same Christian Bible tell you that you must be as wise as a serpent. Be as wise as a serpent. So, right away, there's a contradiction. So how is it the serpent in the Christian Bible represent evil, but the Bible tells you that you must be as wise as evil? Be as wise as a serpent? So we could go beyond that confusion and look into African culture, African history, African mythologies. And how is it I and I have been dealing with the serpent? What does it mean to be serpentine? And you know, I was going to say this. If you go to a pharmacy, and the pharmacy is a place where you go for help, medical help. Well, on the door of 99% of the pharmacies, you see a serpent. You never notice? Next time you go, you take a look. There's a serpent wrapped around a cross on the door of almost all pharmacies. A serpent. Could it be the same meaning that this represents evil and destruction? And then, when you delve into Egyptian mythology and Egyptian history, you realize that the pharaohs, the god kings, in their crown was the serpent. So what is it telling us? How is it the ancient Egyptians who are into royalty and leadership and divineness, they have the serpent close to them? Because, why is that now? In a real sense, the serpent really is a symbol of fertility. Yes. I'm going to give it to you now, and I'm going to go check it on yourself. And when you have dreams of serpent, now you have to begin to reinterpret these dreams. The serpent is a symbol of fertility. It's a symbol of the creative life force. You hear this now, you know? Because why? The serpent have the power to shed its skin. And the shedding of the skin is symbolic of a rebirth. The shedding of the skin is symbolic of transformation. The shedding of the skin is symbolic of immortality. You hear me say immortality and health. So the serpent that I and I always knew before we got caught up into Christendom was always a positive symbol. Rebirth. Some even connected the symbol of the serpent to the penis, which is the site of birth and rebirth and creativity. Some even call it the serpent, the anaconda, based on the size. But the important symbol of the serpent is one of fertility, of creative life force, the power of rebirth, transformation, immortality, and health. So this is what happened to us now when we get the wrong interpretation and when we get embraced and caught up into the mythology that is alien to us. And I'm going to go one step further now to tell you about the serpent. Because when you read the Genesis and you get into the story about the conversation between the serpent and the woman, it's a very interesting conversation. To me, it's important that we examine this and ask the question, who recorded the conversation between the serpent and Eve? Who else was in the garden taking notes? So you see, say it's a manufactured thing now. It's manufactured in the imagination of the writer. And in the writer's imagination, the serpent speaks to the woman And what was the reasoning about? The reasoning was about what the Lord God told the woman. And the woman was told that, the fruit is forbidden. And she was informed that if she partake of the fruit, she would die. And the Bible exposes the first lie. The first big lie, the first big white lie in the Bible is uttered in the book of Genesis. In that metaphorical fable, where the serpent tells a woman that if you eat of that fruit, you shall not die. Remember now, Lord God said, if you eat of the fruit, you shall die. The serpent said, a lie, Lord God, I tell. If you eat of the fruit, you will not die, but your eyes will be open and you will be like gods. And what happened in the story? Can you remember that story we're looking at, The story says, the woman partake. And guess what happened? She did not die. So somebody told a lie. So the first lie was told in the Genesis, in that fable about this man from dirt and this woman from bone. So African people now cannot be connected to that mythology. We cannot connect ourselves to that type of deception. It's not our mythology. It's a mythology that was constructed by the Europeans, and it suits the Hebrews, and it suits the Jews. So the first lie in the Bible, told by Lord God, not the God of creation, who closed off creation after the seventh day. We're talking about the Lord God man who make this man out of dirt and an experiment with creating. It's like a scientist named Lord God. And trying to make man. And in that attempt to make man, it becomes scientific, almost like cloning. And then could not make the female unless something was taken out of the male, which is cells and whatever, to create a clone. So black people must disconnect themselves from that mythology of Adam and Eve. We cannot be a part of that lie. We cannot be a part of that jealousy and that destruction and envy. Those are the negative conditions that hold people in a mental state today. We can free our mental state of those bad-minded traits by letting go. That mythology is not African. It's not black people mythology, that. It's a mythology and there's a fable. And the fable is the problem. Because that man could have worked with a mythology that says things happen in a 7-cycle period. And that Africans were part of the cycle on the 6th day. And on the 7th, the Almighty rested. What happened after that? I can't connect myself spiritually to that. That is a different history. So if I look at the serpent different, check the pharmacy. Check the throne and the crown of the ancient kings of Africa, the pharaohs, and you see the serpent. The serpent is about life. The penis is a serpent. And out of that comes forth the milk. That is life. So we embrace serpentine philosophy. Yeah, there's a philosophy called serpentine philosophy. It engages and involves even the movement of the sun, moving in a serpentine movement. So we'll lego certain things if we're going to celebrate African history. And what we lego now is the European mythology and the European fables and the allegories that we think that are literal. They are not. They are metaphorical.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close. We never close.
For complete auto repairs and services, come to Aiken Auto Technology, located at 33 Bumble Crescent, Port Antonio, Jamaica. We offer specialist services in wheel alignment and wheel balancing, brake drum and disc rotary servicing, state-of-the-art ultrasonic cleaning and testing of your fuel injectors. We also stock an assorted range of auto service parts, tires, and motorcraft batteries. If we don't have it, we will source it for you. Call us at 876-715-5205 or email AikenAutoTech16@gmail.com. Aiken Auto Technology, beyond the typical auto mechanic shop.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill. They offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Wonder why them no teach.
Yeah, look, brethren in Canada, Sadiki, you have to send that thing to my email address. I'm going to give it to you. BLAQ NITY. BLAQ NITY. Black Unity at Yahoo. Yeah, I want to check all these articles that I have forwarded on the WhatsApp. Can't really see it right now. Yeah, but thank you very much for forwarding the information so we can. So we'll check out Jordan Maxwell. Maxwell is speaking about the Bible and religion. So I will check him out. See him? Alright, give thanks. All the way from Canada. Hail up Akar Black and Yandri C. Hail up Lance. Hail up Juicy Max. Who else there, Canada? Hail up Trudeau. Yes, Pierre. Alright.
Teach Marcus Garvey to the youth them again. Teach Marcus Garvey to our enemies and friends. Them rather a thousand gunmen without a plan. Oh yeah.
Hail up all ones and ones in Spanish Town. Hail up Osa Boro. Yes, give thanks to the man and them works. Hail up all the people now in St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, Westmoreland, St. James and Hanover, coming around to Trelawney and up into St. Anne's and our neighboring parish in St. Mary. Leave out anybody? Yes, Kingston and St. Andrew. So hailing all those on the island who are part of this listening audience. And thank you for participating. Because, you know, there are other things you could be doing, but the choice is yours. Styles FM. Live.
Listen now. Them rather a thousand gunmen without a plan. Oh yeah. Them rather a thousand gunmen without a plan. They must be madman. Send them a Bellevue. Teach Marcus Garvey to the youth them again. Teach Marcus Garvey to our enemies and friends. Teach Marcus Garvey to the youth them again. Teach Marcus Garvey to our our enemies and friends.
No, it's important that we always speak to the powers and the contribution to our edification, to the Marcus Messiah Garvey, and to the teachings of His Imperial Majesty. Because we need a double barrel approach now. We need the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Messiah Garvey. We need the teachings of His Imperial Majesty. We have to have them in tandem. Balance yourself. So one aspect will help us, ways of thinking spiritually, and the other is about our practical, economic, political life. And these are not fictional characters, Marcus Garvey and Haile Selassie. These are real characters. It is a Bible that is filled with fictional characters. And so we are confused that our history is the biblical history. And so our history have no real people in it. If you embrace biblical history as your African history, then the people in there are not real. It's all fictional characters you're embracing. And so it's difficult to embrace Garvey because Garvey is real life. But you can embrace Adam and Eve. And you can embrace Noah. And Samson. And all these biblical characters who never really existed. They're all fictional. But when you read it over and over and you're told by the people over your head that so it goes, you begin to think and believe. Because you don't know anymore, You believe that these characters are real. These are fictional characters set up in allegories, set up in mythologies that controls our thinking. So when we realize that Eve and Adam are fictional characters, then all the generations that follow them are also unreal. So if black people want to find them beginnings, there's no way we can search from Adam and Eve to find ourselves. Because I and I have been here thousands of years before that thing was created. For thousands of years. With our own history, with our own mythologies. And our mythologies take us off the planet Earth and connects us to other solar systems. The Chinaman is celebrating the year of the dog. Different vibration, unlike the black people who lock up into the year of our Lord. So for 2018 years, black people locked up into the year of our Lord, and it's pure blood run. The Chinaman has a new rhythm every year. And the dog is a very, very powerful animal on the earth. Perhaps the most loyal animal on the earth. And the Egyptians recognize the power of the dog. They recognize the dog star. They recognize the power of Sirius. And that's how we go with the dog concept, And there's a constellation of stars called the dog, canine, Canos. So when we talk about the dog and the reality about the dog and his behavior and the connection between the dog and the Cyrus, the star Sirius, and the god Osiris. All of these things are connected in our spiritual thinking, in our psychic mind. And these are the things we have to recoup, reconstruct, to give us our sense of power, to overpower these false teachings. So, check out Sirius. Check out the star Sirius. Check out the solar, the system called Sirius. Check out the constellation, the Orion. Check out the Mali Dogon people who have their direct relationship to the star Sirius. So this has nothing to do now with Adam and Eve and no bone out of no dirt. This is about African culture, African mythology. That is long before Adam and Abraham and all these characters were invented. Because these are fictional characters. Fictional. So we're separating this story of African people from the stories presented to us by European writers. We are refuse and we reject the mythologies of Europe and we embrace African mythologies. So we have a different perspective about beginnings. So if you have a different perspective about beginnings, none of us could really claim as Africans that we're born in a sin and shaped by iniquity. That applies to the generation of people who see themselves as connected to the mythology of Eve and Adam. And within that story, those same people who were born in this, shaped by this iniquity and sin, they should have gotten a reprieve because the Lord God in the story got vexed and wiped out the people them. So apparently the sin wasn't wiped out because the people who were left also had sin. So he might have sent a son to be murdered. And in this murder now the people who are connected to the Adam and Eve mythology should feel some type of relief. It's all in the brain. It's all in the mind. And the reality is that I don't come from no garden. I come from a major continent. The Africans were here during the Ice Age. Where was the Europeans? Where was Adam and Eve during the Ice Age? We have to check Earth history with the history of the African continent, with black people history, juxtapose it against the mythologies and the fables that we get in the King James Bible. And little by little, we're going to wiggle our way out. And we're going to find ourself, where there's going to be a certain amount of self-esteem because of the knowledge and the greatness of who we are as a people. You got to go it individually first. You have to know your individual self now. Clear up your own backyard, as they would say. And clear up your own backyard, I mean going through those mythologies, going through the fables, and dismissing what is a fable. Rejecting mythologies that don't empower you. So when the mythology speaks about a creation, and they're all males, we have to reject that. Because it is instinctive within our culture that the female be at center of all the procreation process. That's why we had female deities, goddesses, who would partner. They're male because the partnership is really the image of God. When the male and the female unite, we get the image and likeness of the Almighty. Metamorphosis.
One machikum bakhna Africa da fa bakhna kida fanya kida farafet one machiki bunjul kida fa bunjul one yande kesawai kida fa bunjul one machiki bunjul kida fa bunjul dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingama dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingara dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingara. Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud, you got to hold on to it. Be proud of your culture. Walking down the road in a Germany, reggae music playing, and this is what one man was saying. Was ist denn das? Was ich da höre? Ich kann nicht anders. Muss einfach tanzen. Bis Typ der Reggae, manchmal macht man ein bisschen lauter. Niemals in meinem Leben habe ich so etwas gehört. Meine Damen und Herren und alle Brüder und Schwestern, ich muss euch jetzt verlassen, weil ich fliege nach Jamaika. Tschüss, bis bald, ich komme irgendwann wieder. Es macht mich was, es gibt mir Kraft.
Yeah, we're hearing the Marigini again, chanting out in all these various tones, reminding I and I to be proud of our culture. But to say, culture is something that can be watered down, you know. Yeah, your culture can also be invaded. What we have to hold on to that is even deeper than the culture now is our heritage. Yeah, the heritage now, and you don't hear anybody emphasizing heritage now. All they talk about is culture, and culture this and culture that. But culture varies. And I say culture can be invaded and overpowered and distorted. But you see your heritage set up in your genetic makeup. The heritage set up in your traditions and the generations of behavior being passed on. So your heritage now even more powerful than the culture. Because the culture, as I say, can be invaded by all sorts of alien forces, but it's hard to invade the heritage of a people. Yeah, the heritage is more foundational. And it takes you deeper in time and space and mind of a people. So what we really need to highlight beside African history is African heritage. And then now we begin to embrace the entire continent, because our African heritage can't be just what happened in Egypt and Ethiopia. African heritage takes us to the center of the continent, to the south, to the north, to the west, and to the horn. Takes us to all aspects of the continent to uncover what is the heritage. And that's what we must begin to search for. So these 2,000 years in this captivity will just becoming like a blip, because our heritage takes us tens and tens and thousands of years. We know that. The geologists know that. The archaeologists know that. So it's about reconfiguring, resetting. The more thing in Jamaica about, boy, I saw the thing set, you know, like, a man here has a thing happening and the man says, wow, I saw it set. Well, all that is set can be reset. Yeah, nothing no set, cement forever. Cement can crack. It may take a serious amount of energy and effort, but if you concentrate on the key points and don't just lick everywhere, hit the essential points, that thing shall break. So make us revisit heritage. What is heritage versus culture? What is African heritage? We can speak of African heritage and we can speak of black culture. We have Europeans who are falling in love with black culture. Some of them claiming it. We have some Italians who claim that now them is more Rasta than Rastafari. The same Italians them who spend them time trying to destroy the Ethiopian empire with them mustard gas and them chemical warfare. A lot of them offsprings now. I tell you about Selassie and Haile Selassie. If you watch them, because these people never surrender. Them say them can't beat you, them won't join you. But when them join you, them not with you. Them join you to find a way how to pull you down. So we don't want nobody come pirate with culture and things that them is I and I. Because even when them do that, when them adopt Rastafari culture and start eat like a Rasta eat, them start dress like Rasta, them start talk like Rasta, them start love Rasta music, them start call themselves Rasta. But you see, culture, them can pirate. But you see, I and I heritage, them can't come near that. Because when we talk about heritage, now we talk about our ancestral lands, ancestral forces. Our ancestors are driven by the memories in our skin. I am saying our ancestors don't dwell in the ground, them dwell in our skin. They're not in the ground because we bury them. They dwell as memories, and we store those memories in our black skin. That's become part of our heritage. And we pass on this heritage to our children through genetics. Not culture, heritage, genetics, traditions. So this month, as much as we're celebrating African history and black history, I say focus a little bit more on African heritage and see if it don't make you broader and give you a greater base to manage yourself and to resist forces of oppression. Metamorphosis.
Shines like a beautiful stream. Hey, hey, it's here in this world and it's reigning supreme. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Knowledge and wisdom will lead us to freedom. Hey, hey, let us seek first the heavenly kingdom. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Sodom cemetery. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting.
Yes, Metamorphosis into the final 10 minutes of another edition. And I can't go out without touching what's happening in the most contemporary way. As we know that there's a major event occurring in the world today in terms of sports, the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. African people never knew that this would exist. Black people never knew that this would be something that one day I will be participating in. But because we are a supreme race of people, we are adaptable to any condition and any situation. So you take the man from the hottest climate and you put him on ice and tell him to perform. And there we are, skating away, doing all the type of things that the people of the ice culture do because of our ability to be adaptable and flexible and demonstrate our greatness. The Olympics also, that's time when we must focus on the politics of governance and international politics and power. And let us not forget that prior to the game started, the whole world was focused through the efforts of the United States to see North Korea as the greatest threat to the world. The propaganda was that Kim Jong-un was a major threat because of his development of his nuclear armament. And the Trump administration get the whole Western world to rally behind them to stamp out this so-called evil of the world, meaning this small Korean state was being called the evil of the world. I won't mention what's happening in Syria, and what's happening in Yemen, where the Soviet Union and America and Turkey and Israel and Iran all involved right now, actively warring. The Iranians have shot down, well, not Iran, the Israelis have shot down a drone that the Prime Minister claims comes from Iran and is declaring war against Iran, but they're fighting it in Syria. So the Olympic Games now, prior to the Olympic Games, the whole world was preparing for the war to take place in Southeast Asia. But through some sporting politics, Kim Jong-un give him a 6 for a 9. And in a very short way of describing that, he has moved towards a position called cultural unity. And he has become united culturally with his own kind, the South Koreans. Because the Koreans in the north and the south were only divided by the Europeans and the Americans. Them split up the peninsula. But the people have always been connected. The people on the African continent, as much as I and I have been disconnected for 200 years or more, I and I are still connected culturally. We are still culturally united. We are united at the level of heritage, to take it even deeper. So the Koreans now realize, particularly not, that the way to save themselves is to unite. And nobody expected that these Winter Games would see a unity of the North and the South Korea. That they would enter under one banner, that they would play as one team at the hockey tournament, and that the sister of Kim Jong-un would bring communication to the South Korean Prime Minister for the need for reasoning. And so they are quietly diffusing the big bad boy tactics of the military-industrial complex that thrives on war. There are lessons that I and I, that people can learn from this. There are lessons. And one of the important lessons is that power only respects power. The latest report now coming out of the Winter Olympics is that the Americans now are willing to negotiate with North Korea with no preconditions. This is a revolutionary change in them attitude. Because every time America negotiates with anybody, there must be conditions. Just like when we go to the IMF and take money from them, there are conditions. They like to set these preconditions, and along those preconditions, then you obey and you get what they want. Now, the North Koreans have defied the Americans and have shown the world that if they hadn't built up them armament to this level, they could never reach the point where America said, "No, we shall now discuss." And that's how America behave. America only respect force. And that comes from the Wild West days, when the man them can't resolve them dispute by reasoning, them go for the gun. So it's a natural response of the white man when them can't get his way to go to the gun. And so it's important then that all nations be properly armed. That is coming down to. Because it's evident now that if you're not armed, you have no respect from those who are armed. And then bully you. So bullyism now becoming a problem even in America and the school system. Bullyism. The president of America is an embodiment of a bully. So let us not be surprised if bullyism doesn't begin to circulate through the American culture. Man is a bully. The man is a racist. So you have to expect that racism is going to be fueled by the behavior of this leader. So black people need to be more awakened. In America, they call it woke. But it's unfortunate that the black man in America still don't see himself connected to Africa. Because if you ask a black man, generally in America, where his grandfather come from, he might say, well, he came from Tennessee. And he asks him where his great-grandfather come from. He will say Tennessee too. And at no point does he realize that there's a part of his heritage and lineage that started somewhere else. That's what the black man in America need to wake up to. That he is connected heritage-wise and historically and psychologically to the African continent. No matter how many generations survive in North America is not our home. We brought there as captives and worked as slaves and released as emancipated laborers. The prisons in today's state are filled with black people providing cheap labor. So we have to come to a grip with I and I self. Yeah, we have to realize that there's no more hope in white domination and handouts and running behind these people begging. We have to allow them, leave them alone. Make them keep what them have and make we use what we have to generate what we need. We are the green plants in the world of people. We are not the parasites. So we must rely on our inner strength. Like the green plants rely on the pigmentation to create food, we need to create a vibration that is based upon our pigmentation. So we rally and we unify around our pigmentation, around our heritage, and begin to build our economics. Take heed, The Trump has given us a warning. You're on your own. So we see the world now how it's shaping up. The Koreans have used Trump to bounce off him to create their own unity. The women in America have used Trump to solidify themselves. Because, to unify, apparently you need an enemy. When you have an enemy, people will rally around and come together and focus on the enemy. African people now, we must define right now who is the enemy. And no longer can the enemy be ourselves. We cannot continue to be our own enemy. We have to begin to look outward. We have to look into places like Washington. Look into places where control power. The Congress, Hollywood, institutions that control power. And in the Jamaican scenario, we have to concentrate on absolving the office of the Governor General. Because that office and that power doesn't contribute to the removal of poverty in Jamaica. It does not contribute to reducing illiteracy. So whatever doesn't help us, we must jettison it. So in Jamaica, how are you sure? is that we must focus on getting the powers out of this constitutional monarch. Of remove the parallel government. Because we have a government led by the Governor General, we have another government led by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has his MPs, and the Governor General has his custods. Two different governments in Jamaica. We have a breakdown one. And the easiest one to break down is the one that is represented by the alien forces. We don't need a Governor General office. We don't need King's House. We need a house that will speak to the needs of the Jamaican people. And if we can move away the King's House, then the people will focus now on Jamaica House. And those inside Jamaica House will have to become now responsible, because the people will begin to quote the Constitution on them and tell them that they are violating their rights. And on that basis, we rise up and make the change. Ultimate change is not in the people. The ultimate change must be in the structure. We need to get rid of the Westminster model. Get rid of that model, because everybody going there turn on like a model. And we need to build our own institutions regionally and reorganize governance in Jamaica. It is worthy that the next generation have a better chance. Metamorphosis.
Get up, Mr. Slow Coach. You're moving much too slow. Get out of your slumbering. There ain't much time to go. You got to stand and be a man. Let the nation know your plan. The world is in a crisis, seeking humanity. Look into the Middle East. There ain't no sign of peace. But heathens reign, oh yes there ain't. And it won't be for long. Get up, Mr. Slow Coach. Welcome the morning sun. And try to do some good work. There's plenty to be done. Like giving praises unto the King. See the joys our love can bring.
I have to just make another mention about something that has come to the top of the news, you know. They are reporting that at the General Penitentiary, that them find a tunnel. Yeah, a tunnel now from GP that leads to a church. And it's been reported that that tunnel has been there for 20 years. You know, the virgin who was interviewed said, a 5-star hotel treatment go on a GP, all you have to do is have the money. You think about that? For 20 years, a tunnel that leads out a GP into a church. You imagine the amount of movement that go in and out. So you see, security is at zero in Jamaica. Remember, we're a state run by Tivoli. The island want governance. And governance will come when we have less MPs, less fiefdoms, and we'll break down that central concept of central government, because it doesn't help the masses. It helps a few who get into the house and them scrape, fatten up them neck and them belly, and improve the life of them children and step out. We're revolting against that. And it's the people that must become knowledgeable and begin to hold these guys who call themselves MPs. Hold them accountable. We say about them yard too. We make certain demands, make them know say it's hard and rough. Yeah, we say about them yard. We say go up to King's House, go patrol, sit down outside. Make the Governor General know so when I move till him go away. Militancy. The youth in America are on the march. They're marching to Washington. Demand that the politicians deal with it now, or else they will not be re-elected in the midterm elections. That's how our youth them want all our politicians to. And demand of them what is it they must do in this time. Yeah, that may I say. And again, healing all those who are out of the island, listening to the Metamorphosis. North America, Canada, USA. Thank you for listening. People in the UK, Empress Garrow. Thank you for listening and tuning in to the Metamorphosis on Styles FM. Healing to the people who are down under. Will soon come up. Yeah? And of course, over in the major mother continent, all the people them who locked in and from the various countries, whether you're in Ghana or in Kenya or you're in Zimbabwe, Metamorphosis is all over the planet. And so the change is what we need globally. Black people are at the bottom of the hierarchy, the global racial hierarchy. At the very top are Caucasians. The condition must change, but the people must change individually at the conscious level first. Less sleepwalkers, less zombies. We want more living souls treading this earth.
I'll stand up and fight. Fight for my oh, yeah, now.
Hail up Sister Dawn right here in Falkland, Bombrook. Hail up Sister Dawn and hail up Sister Dawn right there in Free School. Hail up my Virgin man Titchfield Hill. Hail up Devon. Hail up the Clifford Glass House. And hail up Godzilla's restaurant. And the niceness that goes on upstairs the restaurant. Yeah, big people thing go on upstairs. Big people thing, you know. Yeah man, big people thing. I man pass through every now and then. Cause I are big people.
I've got to be free. Now living in a Babylon.
Hail up people in Galena. Name is Sexy. Sexy say good night. And I man say yes, Sexy is a good night. Hail up to Pauline down there in St. Mary. Hail up to the listeners in Western Portland. Right to the corner of the road where the ball them gather. Hail up all of the man them. Hail up the people in East Portland. Millicent out at Long Road. Amira out in Hector's River. Yeah. And Sewell. Hampton Court. All the way down into Morant Bay. Into Bull Bay. And we're healing all those in my community called Harbour View. I've noticed if you listening, whether you're on the radio or you're on the net. Participation is key. Listening is a science. It's an art. And we want to improve the ability to listen. This way, when we communicate, we begin to hear what each other is saying. But what tendency to want to answer a man before we even done talk. We plan the answer with the man, forget the man when the man even done with the question yet. Make us slow down and listen and think and speak consciously. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak. Out.
It's the voice that sets me free.